And to the bottom right, the aforementioned madman. He is in the blue, Bly.
And up here in the top left-hand side of the map, we have the red Protoss player. He is GunGFuBanDa. Yeah. So that's things to keep an eye out for in this series. Clearly not in this particular game, but in this series in general are things that Bly likes to do. Going for early pools, going for proxy hatches. Okay, well, you know, I did not catch this drone, but it seems like we have found, in fact, the proxy hatch. The proxy hatch has been discovered.
Yep, GunGFuBanDa has also discovered it. But the good news about this, if you are a fan of games that are not too memey, which I don't know why you would be watching a Bly series then, but if you are, this is 3 hatch before pool, right? This is not a Roach Warren or Immediatelings or something. This is not all in. This is just Bly being obnoxious. Because this is actually the interesting thing, by the way. Normally, Bly is going to take this base second, right, and his opponent's base, and then he's going to get his own natural. Instead, he went like the greediest possible version of this, and he took his natural, then he took his opponent's natural, because that's just how you do it. And that does mean that this hatch is going to have a little bit less HP building out than it might otherwise have, but GunGFuBanDa, certainly his natural. It's delayed. He had to get a Zealot out. Maybe he didn't want that.
Yeah, it's super annoying, but honestly, this is just like Bly's standard. And I literally mean this as I think Bly considers as part of the build order to just do this. And going for the Evo Chamber follow-up, for those who don't know, if you start up a hatchery and cancel it, there's a brief moment where there's creep directly beneath the hatchery. So you can actually build an Evo Chamber or some other building off of creep, basically, by building a hatchery and canceling it. Now, with all of that being said and done, though, Nexus does come down. This is annoying in a lot of different ways for Protoss players, and like I expect GunGFuBanDa has experience with it, but there's little things like, hey, you normally rely on that Nexus to basically give you supply, and you obviously rely on the Nexus for like your timings of when you rally workers around and everything. You have to build 2 extra Zealots. That's super annoying. This just throws your build order off and allows Bly to do what he does best, which is forcing his opponent into a position of like discomfort, and then forcing out additional mistakes as the game goes on. It's one of the reasons I love that Bly does the proxy hatch.
Yeah, of course, the unfortunate thing for Bly is that we are, what are we, 7-8 years after Legacy of the Void dropped, so this same style that was really good at the start when people were figuring things out. I mean, I'm not going to say the game is figured out. We are getting new metas all the time, but players have had, especially, you know, someone who's been around for as long as GunGFuBanDa has, I've had 8 years of playing against Bly, running into him on ladder, kind of figuring out everything that happens, and a proxy macro hat or a proxy hatch 3 hacks before pool that might have felt very uncomfortable 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, more. Now I feel like it's just, I'm not going to say par for the course, but a lot more comfortable. You've dealt with enough of these that GunGFuBanDa, he's going to know how to respond, and there we go. 3 gateways going down, Glaive Adept's on the way, and there's no Roach Warren. This is looking like a pretty good option.
No, I think you're absolutely on point about that. Like, Bly is not an unknown quantity in that regard. I think what is still cool, it's similar to actually in some ways, like facing against Printf or something as like a cannon rusher. There are 2 holes in that wall. Well, GunGFuBanDa also realizes this. It's like, I'm gonna throw down a pylon over here. Ooh, the Overlord drop. This is gonna be very, very annoying because the timing of this, like, you can look at Resident Glaives and just see how much GunGFuBanDa wants to move out, like, right about now. It's right around the time you're expecting that shade to come on out. If Bly times this out perfectly, the shade will go out. GunGFuBanDa will just basically be in the middle of the map with his units, and the Overlord drop is going to be coming on in. Oh, he reveals it. Oh, the Adepts, they started moving out, but they didn't actually shade forward, so GunGFuBanDa actually has time to respond. That actually could have made the difference there between this doing devastating damage and doing okay damage.
And now my question really, so is the Lings they get in the main, despite everything, they're going to get 5-6 workers. Yeah. The question now, he shaded across the map. That's some confident play right there, GunGFuBanDa. He's going to lose, because of this, he's going to lose a couple more workers than he really should have. But I guess maybe the play is, wow, you know, I think you committed so much to this as 8 probes go down that you will not be able to defend my follow-up. But I mean, Bly has I don't think this is the real third, by the way, just so we're clear. Bly has it, and it's going to get canceled, but I don't think that's really in his calculus. This is 2-base Nidus Swarm Host. Oh, he does get it. Oh, that's not good.
Bly, all right. Bly is a big brain player. He's not a mechanical player, all right? That's par for the course also. Those 300 minerals lost for the hatchery are estimated into the cost of doing this build harder.
I don't know that I would go that far, but
I know. I'm mostly memeing, but there is still an Overlord around, right? Like the Drop Overlord is still alive. Yes, the Drop Overlord is still alive. That's going to be the vision provided, but this is. Oh, okay. I didn't even see the Swarm Host. Actually, yeah, you're right. I think you even said the Swarm Hosts are being made, right?
Yeah, not a Swarm Host play. This is, I mean, we talked about Bly coming up, you know, winning tournaments in 2015, being this guy that, because things are new, he's able to be kind of chaotic. Well, this is a build from actually before 2015. Like the Nidus Swarm Host idea off of 2 bases was something we used to see back in Heart of the Swarm. And now, well, Locust, they're going to show up. How much damage do they get, though? Like, oh, that's an exposed pylon.
That's very nice. That's going to depower 2 gateways, a Robo, and a Twilight Council. Not only is it about delaying the Robo and the Twilight Council, but no additional weapons for a bit. That actually makes it even more annoying to deal with the Locust. That is unfortunate Locust drop-off. But I guess Bly can probably live with that if he gets a pylon or something, shuts down a little bit of vision. Maybe opens up another Swarmos angle later on as well.
And the interesting thing about this too, Fear Dragon, is that this is Glaive Adepts. Like, Locusts are light units. It may not be the most obvious counter, and I'm not sure how good it actually is going to be, but if you have a bunch of Adepts, I don't think they fight this too horribly, right? We just see a bunch of these Adepts go down with a shield battery. It's really not that bad, but there is a Nidus that goes up in the main. Zealot finds it, but just doesn't kill it quickly enough. Oh, these Swarmos might get caught. This could be potentially a problem here, but another Nidus goes down, and instead it's going to have to be a recall into the main. Another Nidus again popping up here. One Immortal has to run away, but this was a lot of Swarm Hosts and not a lot of Locusts because half of them on the bottom side.
Yeah, it becomes very messy for both these players. One of the Immortals does end up falling to the final shot there from one of those Locusts. A lot of the Adepts and stuff are also starting to go down. The Swarmos do manage to make their way back over to the 3rd base. This is about the chaos that Bly really wants to create. He's able to find a couple of workers now with 4 roaches, target firing them down while the queens and everything else keep them busy. But he is losing a lot of not only Swarmos, or sorry, not only a lot of Nidus Swarms during all this, but he is losing a lot of his other units. He's been bleeding off these roaches as well. So GunGFuBanDa's army is also getting larger, but I think this is the final critical moment where Bly being able to do those last 2 rotations, I think that has finally started to break through GunGFuBanDa's defenses a little bit more. And even another pylon going down actually supply blocks GunGFuBanDa. His army is not getting any bigger right now.
No, it really isn't. And you're right. Yes, losing some Swarm Hosts are obnoxious, but he lost like, what, 1, 2? He lost 2 of them. He's still at 10. That's 20 Locusts every 45, 50 seconds. That is not an army. That the Locusts by themselves, I'm not convinced is something that GunGFuBanDa can deal with anymore. I mean, the Adepts on the middle of the map, they deal with some reinforcements. That's nice, but I mean, GunGFuBanDa is getting so pinned here. And with the number of Locusts that are, this is Nexus killing power right now.
Yeah, I think you just right click it down. Gonna go for the Zealots over here. All right, now he's just gonna go for probes. I guess I don't hate that too much either. He's also going to be able to kill the shield battery, which is actually pretty nice because it means that the Nexus is a little bit easier to kill later on. But yeah, I mean, he's got creep tumors and stuff to provide vision at this point because he's been loading queens and everything. I will say GunGFuBanDa is massively behind. But there is still an opportunity, and I will say like this with the utmost respect for Bly. Bly has thrown bigger leads than this before because I think sometimes he can get a little bit too cute, a little bit too cheeky, and doesn't think about the transitions. That being said, Spire on the way I think is a really smart call just because he knows GunGFuBanDa is still struggling to deal with the Swarm Hosts, and as long as it keeps those alive and doesn't somehow make some like big mistake where he ends up losing a lot of his Swarm Hosts or something, that he can transition this into a big Meter tech switch or something and just win the game.
Oh, I do like this though, using the Locust to just dive right on top of the Immortals, snipe one of them down, and every Immortal that goes down, it's so much easier for the Roach and the Ravager to try to move forward. But here's my question, Fear Dragon. I know you talked about Bly sometimes gets lost in the sauce and doesn't have the transitions that he needs. Is going for a Spire, is that making the transition that he needs, or is that getting lost in the sauce and being a little bit too fancy?
Yeah, I'm a little bit 50-50 about that as well. It's just the fact, I think specifically the fact that Bly has been saving gas for the last like 2 minutes. He can make, okay, 10 mutas. I was gonna say 15 or 14 mutas, which I think is enough that it's not about killing GunGFuBanDa outright. It's about the fact that if he pairs those with the Swarm Host, GunGFuBanDa cannot divide up his army to deal with both sides. He can't deal with both the muta harassment and also deal with the Swarm Host at the same time.
Oh, there we go.
That's annoying.
Honestly, we are what, 12 years, 13 years into StarCraft 2's development, and we still don't see that enough. Getting an observer and just kind of parking it, or an overseer just parking it in a corner and, you know, holding it and then delaying upgrades for just forever. It's not all that expensive. It really does not cost a Zerg that much to make it, and it's such a powerful idea.
Just trade versus Stalkers. Yeah, let's go. Yeah, he wins that. GG. Bly's. Let's go.
Blithely Bly's around the Bly. Okay. There we go. Bly, though, hey, you know what? That was a pretty solid game from him. He did a great job of keeping GunGFuBanDa off tempo. Although I think we can say that more than anything, GunGFuBanDa's decision to run across the map with his Glaive Adepts on the idea that, yes, you've committed a lot to this. I can clearly go kill you now with my 8 Adepts. Well, there was a wall, and it just... I don't think that was the right decision. It might have been, I don't know how much GunGFuBanDa saw, that maybe he didn't know that Bly was not on a third base, but that felt too big brain. Like, we talked about how Bly can get a little overcomplicated, but that felt like GunGFuBanDa trying to like 5-head a game that really he just had to play standard and would probably be okay.
Yeah, I think I agree with you, given that we have like the infinite vision. My like, if I put myself in GunGFuBanDa's place though, I also like, I empathize with it because it's like, okay, I just held off an Overlord drop. You invested a bunch of money into this Overlord drop and stuff. I lost some workers and everything. I need to make sure that I keep you in check from running away economically and everything. And you must have invested a lot into that. So theoretically, you shouldn't be able to have too much more. And if you do have more, then I'll see it coming across the map. The one thing that he needed to be wary of, because he even had pylons around his main, he was ready for a Nidus in his main or his natural. There is exactly one thing he was not prepared for, which was Swarm Host Nidus, where the Nidus Swarm isn't even in his base. It's just like outside of his main or something. I think that was like the one thing that those Adepts were not going to be able to actually like bounce back from to come back home fast enough to deal with.
Yeah, you know, that's fair. But at the end of the day, isn't it simpler to just kill all the Lings and then move out rather than like trying to hit that timing?
That's true. That I am with you on, in the sense that like it's not great to have the Lings still active and alive as you run out, but we could talk about that game, I'm sure, a lot more. But let's head into game number 2 as we head on to Neo Humanity.
And here we are. It's game 2. In the upper left, in the red, he's down a game, but he gave us a fun one. GunGFuBanDa.
And over here in the bottom right-hand side of the map, having his own hatchery blocked, but it doesn't matter because it's Neo Humanity, and that's not where Bly takes his hatchery. It is Bly. I just think it's funny because, okay, if GunGFuBanDa does not scout that forward location, I'm actually convinced he has never played Bly on this map, because I don't think I've seen a game of Bly on Neo Humanity where he doesn't take the space.
I think I'll go you one better. I'm not convinced he's played Zerg on this map, because I mean, you see, granted it was Raynor's attempted a third, but Raynor took the forward base as his natural in every PVZ or every ZVP he played in Katowice, unless it was blocked. And Showtime did win a map off that because it was blocked. But now GunGFuBanDa, absolutely, you don't rally. Yeah. This is pretty obvious now.
Yep. Confirms it, sees the extra gas geyser and stuff, and you're absolutely right. I think even some more normal Zerg players will take this base a lot of the time and put on all sorts of funky aggression and do some cool plays here and there. So it'll be interesting to see how things shake out. Probe gets a little bit low, but it'll survive to fight another day and to also just scout a little bit longer, which is also important because Bly is a tricky son of a gun. You need to keep an eye out on him because even if you think you know what he might do, if you haven't confirmed it, Bly really could be doing a lot of things.
Yeah, you know, we talked about how GunGFuBanDa probably went like too many layers deep, right, with the adept play in game 1. But that's a really fair, that's a really easy thing to do against Bly because he forces you to think in all 5 layers of your brain. And now the adept, well, it's gonna go forward, but there's a queen. There are lings here. The one thing you have to be worried about, we see GunGFuBanDa trying to abuse it here, is this base is very far away from this base. And that does mean Bly is going to have to commit a little bit more to his defense than he might otherwise want to. And it's not like the forward base is the gold Fear Dragon. It gives you more gas, which actually gives you more minerals. Oh, Ling's getting on top of the shade. Step's just going to go down. Hey, there we go. Nice job there, Bly. But, I mean, eventually it's going to go down. There we go. The funny calculus here, right, is having 2 gas for the price of 1 is more of a mineral boost than it is a gas boost, realistically.
Yeah, and I think it's a really good point to bring up and the reason for that is because, as you're kind of like trying to point out, you don't have to put as many drones on gas, so you have more drones on minerals. You're not building the drones any faster or anything. It's just literally you have 2 or 3 extra drones that would have been mining gas that now just get to mine minerals instead. So you also get to saturate, and it's not that you actually have more gas mining longer term. It's that short term, immediately you have more gas because you don't have to worry about having enough workers to saturate 2 gas geysers. You just saturate 1, and then you get the same amount of gas as you would have had with 2 gas geysers. So it really, really does help out with early aggressive builds or early tech builds. And then after that, it kind of has a fall off and just becomes like kind of a normalish base.
I'm really curious to see what Bly's going to go for here as well. He's got a quick lair. Roach Horn's going down. My Nidus senses are tingling. I think this is Roachling or like just a Roach Nidus. But again, it's Bly. Who the hell knows? For now, Oracle sees that there is a natural here. Ling's pokes forward, but don't get that much done. Yeah, but again, Fear Dragon, is this a Nidus play? Is this what? Is this just quick Roach speed? I mean, he was trying to knock the rocks down fairly quickly. That kind of makes you think that he's just gonna run across the map really quickly with reinforcements. But what's your read on the madness that is Bly?
I want to be generous and say the fact that he made so many overlords early on was that he was playing to flat out roaches. But again, like I know mechanics are not necessarily Bly's forte, so like sometimes I know he may just be making extra overlords early on just so he doesn't have to deal with it, or he got supply blocked earlier or something. Here is going to be an overlord drop loading on up, so I feel like this is going to be like a weird kind of German taxi build, but not quite German taxi. Oh no, sorry, the overlord's over here. You're right. This is in fact not going to be for queens. It's literally just trying to do a drop overlord, and this actually fails miserably.
Yeah, it feels like GunGFuBanDa has, he played a game against Bly. He was reminded just of how insane Bly is, and now he's buttoned up just a little bit tighter. Now, of course, we do need to point out that Oracle on the other side, it got a lot. It got a queen. It got a couple workers. So when Bly, we talk about how mechanics are not quite as strong. Oh, Ling wiggles through, but it's only 1. We talk about how maybe mechanics are not quite his strong suit. Well, that's fair, but his builds are still well designed for the most part. He has them highly, rather tight. He knows the timings that he's going to go for. So losing gas mining in the main, losing a couple drones is not the best play. And I'm sitting here thinking, like, is this going to be some sort of Roach Knight? There's Swarm Host, or at least there's an infestation pit on the way once again. I gotta assume Swarm Host, right?
That would definitely make the most sense to me, is going for Swarm Host, because, I mean, yeah, like what else is he really going to have the economy to actually support? I don't actually think any of the hive tech units or going for infestors is really going to be super duper viable on his economy right now. So I think that makes the most sense. Yeah, he's still making more overlords though. I'm a little worried about how many minerals he's just dumping into overlords.
The lack of queens is kind of hurting me right now too, because we saw 1, actually 2 queens have now died, and it's gonna be a 3rd dead to the Oracle, unless, okay, there's a bit of a transfuse there, but we're kind of seeing the problem. You build more, and yeah, GunGFuBanDa, he's identified this. There's a 4th Oracle on the way, and there we go. Okay, 12 Swarm Hosts, but you know the problem with this style that Bly is doing, right? This is just smash mouth Swarm Host play. It's not Nidus all over the place. It is literally, I'm going to build a bunch of roaches. I'm going to build a bunch of swarm hosts. I'm going to take advantage of this forward position where I can drop swarm hosts on your head. I can drop locusts on your head, and it's really hard for you to respond. Here's the thing. If you do not have the queen count that Bly needs, and really he needs to, I want to see like 8-9 queens with this. The Nidus or the oracles are just going to sit on top of the swarm host and kill them off eventually.
Yeah. I mean, the swarm host can just go back into a Nidus Swarm normally, but you're absolutely right. There's no Nidus Swarm or anything to actually have in this situation. He's basically going for the frontal assault, so it's going to be interesting to see how he's going to be able to actually cover them, unless he's able to get the creep spread going so far forward that he can actually do something with that. But here's the oracles that you were talking about. I think here's literally that exact situation you were just describing, Beowulf, but are the oracles actually going to help deal with the locusts instead? That is the one way that maybe those swarmers can survive.
They're targeting roaches down. Of all the things, I don't think roaches is the play here. That you can kill locusts fairly quickly. They're light units. Roaches, they're not going to die. So instead of this being, you know, kind of a problem with the oracles killing the swarm host or killing the locusts or something, it just evaporates GunGFuBanDa. He loses everything. The third base, all the army goes down. 11 workers, cannons, and shield batteries. And now look how much energy these oracles have. It's nothing. He's going to get some roaches on the backside. But there were two really good options for GunGFuBanDa with these oracles. You kill the swarm host, you kill the locusts. There's one bad option. You kill the roaches, and GunGFuBanDa kind of chose the bad option.
That did not go very well. I'm not gonna lie. We're gonna have another round of just half of the locusts coming forward to try and go after the shield battery and the cannon. I actually like that a little bit, just because denying the potential of like additional units, or sorry, the additional shield battery overcharge potential and everything is going to be really nice. Another set of the locusts come on forward. The roaches try and target fire down into his immortals. Shield battery overcharge comes out. The locust not refocusing on the shield battery. Missed opportunity maybe, and he's going to end up bleeding out a handful of these roaches. You know, despite everything, you have to remember, swarmos are a lot of inflated supply. So GunGFuBanDa is not in a great spot, but he is not dead yet. He is still hanging on in there for now. Man,
Bly, he just A-booed with the locusts. He could have killed an immortal. He could have killed this pylon. He could have killed any of the shield batteries. We talked about how GunGfu, like, he had two good decisions and one bad one. He chose the bad one. Bly kind of did the same thing. Like, those locusts did absolutely nothing. And again, I'm still a little bit worried about these oracles here. But more locusts, they're released. And now you got to be so careful with these immortals. As the locusts, they run forward. There we go. Now some static defense is going to start to go down. Oracles, they're targeting the locusts. This is what we wanted to see earlier, but you got to wonder whether the tempo is a little bit too strong. All the immortals go down. Roaches and Lings in the corner. And again, the oracles, they're out of energy, but all the Roach Ling, it's dead too.
Yeah, I actually think that overall, that wasn't like spectacular or anything, but I think that GunGFuBanDa can be pretty happy about the defense, because as this game goes on, again, all of the Lings and Roaches and stuff, Bly is actually making those. He is investing into those, and it is going to be something that does slow things down. Every time he loses that army, he has to have a little bit more time. It's not like the Nidus Swarm Host style, where you just, every single time the Swarm Hosts are off cooldown, you're popping out another wave of locusts. You see half the locusts get popped down into the middle of the map over there. So if GunGFuBanDa can survive with some of the power units like the Immortal and everything over here, to use these Stalkers to not lose too much economy, I actually think these kind of trades can really start to actually snowball in his favor.
And this is so interesting as well. GunGFuBanDa, oh, that's an exposed immortal there. Shield battery overcharge gets popped, but it goes down anyways, and Bly's going to be very happy with this one. But GunGFuBanDa, by the way, you know, we have the two lanes. There's a couple zealots on the run by, but roaches have roach speed. This should be fine. GunGFuBanDa's kind of turned this into a MOBA, right? It's two lanes. You attack one side, you defend the other, and it is kind of this interesting setup.
I'm really feeling you on your earlier suggestion, though, that imagine if these oracles were just attacking the swarm hosts. Like, I think you're so right about that. There's nothing really that I feel like Bly could do. His queens are very spread out. He may have 7 queens out on the map now. He did not have that many earlier, but 4 oracles, they could do a lot of damage to these swarm hosts. I understand if he wants to just continue to keep a little bit of like energy around for the actual locust waves and everything, but I really do feel like that maybe is the opportunity to doing long-term damage. Right now, everything he's done is like short-term damage that he's done to the army of Bly. He's gonna take a lot of Stalker losses over here.
The other thing we have to consider is that +2 is just about done for GunGFuBanDa. And you talked about how +2 is such an inflection point. I mean, against roaches, Stalkers are already shredding them. They're going to start to do even more. Well, okay, the Oracles, they're not going to go down, take a little bit of damage. But Bly is, yeah, he's starting to feel himself stall out a little bit. So what does Bly do when he's stalling out? He drops a Nidus on your head into the natural as Locusts are being fought at the third base. So GunGFuBanDa, yeah, there's a shield battery overcharge that's been popped. +2 is powerful. The question is how much time, how much attention does he have to deal with this? And he doesn't at all. The Nidus is going to get up in the natural, but that means that those are Lings not at the front. The Swarm Hosts have spent most of their charges, and this Stalker Immortal army with the Oracles on top, it's kind of scary here.
It is, but remember, GunGFuBanDa is fully all in on this now, so he has to win with this. And it's very possible he's going to be able to push on through far enough to actually make exactly that happen. He blinks forward, snipes off a Queen, going to be picking off one of the hatcheries that, remember, that's also a lot of the production that's going to be going down there for Bly as well. But Bly realizes the Locust Wave is going to be a little bit too deadly for him to deal with. Behind this, GunGFuBanDa doesn't have a whole lot to fall back to. He needs to basically almost win the game off of that kind of push. I don't know if he can actually afford to just chill back doing a bit of economic damage.
There we go. Okay, finally the Oracles, but is this too little too late? I mean, actually, I don't even know how many they got. Yeah, he's gonna get, what?
Yeah.
I heard Swarm Host die, but it's not showing up on the battle report just yet. That's like 2 or 3 Swarm Hosts, and imagine if they were doing that on cooldown. You know, this would be such a better game for GunGFuBanDa, although I have to give him credit. We talked about how he's going all in off this. He's got 60 workers. He's got 4 bases. I don't think he's nearly as all in as we were saying. I mean, his economy's in a really good spot.
I think 4 bases is a generous way to put the fact that he's building 3 hatcheries right now and is on 3 hatcheries.
Sorry,
but I think you're right. If he can, sorry, he's building 4 hatcheries now. If he can get those hatcheries up, then I think he will have an economy fall back to. If he doesn't get the, if GunGFuBanDa is able to continue to put it on the pressure and actually denies those bases or even does things like the DT run bys, Bly right now at this moment, he's basically relying on the fact that he has a bit of a bank that he's able to just continue to flood out units with. I don't think his mining is that great right now.
Ooh. This is interesting, though. We're going to see, there we go. Swarm Host. Oh, the Zealots, they trigger half the Locust. That's really not what you want. Roaches on the left side. Stalkers, they blink back here. And again, these are +0 Stalkers or +2 Stalkers versus +0 Roaches. The Stalkers win this fight any day of the week. So DT's on the right side. They kill another hatch. And this is GunGFuBanDa. He's really starting to swarm at this point. The Nexus doesn't go. I don't think those Swarm Hosts got any. I don't think the Locusts got anything. So at this point, Bly has remade a hatch. It's actually kind of worthless from a mining position. It's only got 3 mineral patches. And with the Oracles on top, I mean, the Roaches, they really struggle to fight this. So GunGFuBanDa, on the one hand, we look at the supply and we say, hey, he's maxed out. On the other hand, I think we look at the game state and we start to realize that GunGFuBanDa is in a really good spot in this game.
Yeah, Zealots and DT is also going to be running on forward. The Roaches have to come over here to help defend. The Spore Crawler is getting transfused and it barely goes down in the end, but they're still already detected. There's 3 overseers. Wow, no, that's actually unfortunate. Maybe you just had it right click from earlier, that Spore Crawler, but it's so funny to see Bly adamantly defending that Spore Crawler when he actually just had 3 overseers in the air.
Well, if you think about it, right? The Spore going down, all the DPS spent on that is not damage spent on killing drones. So it makes sense.
Yeah.
As the Roaches, they think they found some stocks here. I mean, their upgrades are not done. They are distracting, I guess, GunGFuBanDa, because, well, a Nidus did pop on the left side. Swarm Hosts pop out of there, but we're seeing the guns from the sky. These Oracles have proven to be so intensely valuable. Yeah, they could have done more. They could have killed more Swarm Hosts, but I don't think anyone's going to complain about their performance this game.
These Oracles have been putting in some serious work, and this Swarm Host Locust Wave is going to be able to potentially knock out a base. If I think Bly is busy microing his army on the other side of the map, otherwise he would probably be right-clicking down that Nexus. Overseers and all these other units go down. There's not that many Queens left over, so the Oracle's also able to do quite a bit over here. And it seems like finally, at long last, GunGFuBanDa has done enough. He's able to actually break on through. He's getting in on top of the few remaining mining bases over here. If he knocks out this base and just evacuates out toward the top right with the Swarmos Locust come out, Bly is effectively gonna have a next to no mining whatsoever. A handful more roaches popping on out, but even the swarm hosts are actually starting to take some damage now.
Man, heart of the swarm host right here as they drop their locust. They burrow up, but yeah, it's just too little, too late. They did get the Nexus. Like, that is something, but at this point, you are absolutely correct here. Bly has nothing. He's got no money. He's got no army anymore. And GunGFuBanDa held on long enough.
Yeah. Bottom left-hand base also gets sniped off during all of this because of the Zealot run by that was able to pick that off. So that was the only other fresh base, but somehow Bly kept 2 of his bases that were fresher still alive somehow, just barely keeping those bases alive, but he's on to 33 workers. He lost so many units. Really, his only kind of saving grace here is that he has the swarm hosts. The swarm hosts are not exactly what you want to have when your opponent's attacking you. You want swarm hosts when you're attacking your opponent. They are not great defensively.
And this is such a Bly. I mean, this has been a Bly game this entire time, but Bly, instead of realizing that he's dead, because again, he is dead right now, instead he puts burrowed roaches into his opponent's bases to prolong the game for another 30 seconds. GunGFuBanDa holds on. And that was not easy. I mean, Bly had some pretty nice opportunities at times. But the best part about this is, I think for N minus all but one series we've had here today, we go to game 3.
Yeah, honestly, there's a lot of like strategic analysis I'm sure someone could do on that game and stuff, and like, oh, what if someone had done this, someone had done that. I feel like at some point we just kind of like have to, it's like you give up control and it's like, let Bly be Bly, I guess. Bly is gonna do Bly things, and the reason why Bly wins and we don't doing these things is because Bly hard commits, and sometimes it works really well, and that's when we're like, oh my god, Bly is a legend. And sometimes it doesn't work, or he gets a lead and it looks like the lead kind of goes away. And I think sometimes that just the kind of stuff will happen. I just, you know what? Let Bly be Bly. I'm ready for game 3, man.
Yeah, I'm kind of put to mind of the idea, you know, you have the adult, right, or the older sibling, and they're a little sibling and wants to go after them, so you just kind of put your hand on the forehead and they start swinging and it's not working. The problem is, of course, the little siblings Bly there. The problem is Bly has like knives for hands. And sometimes, instead of just like being kind of sitting there and fighting uselessly, he cuts your arm off, and then he like cuts it into tiny pieces, and then is actually able to get at you. But if it doesn't work out, I mean, eventually he's going to tire himself out, and you know, he goes for a nap or something. The question now is whether Bly's his knife hands are properly sharpened for game 3 on altitude, or whether GunGFuBanDa has bought a bracer. He's got a little bit of armor there, and his hand will not get cut off. And I think that is the best way I've ever described how Bly plays.
That was a fascinating description to sit through. I'm on board with it. And you know, you mentioned altitude is going to be map number 3. But I'm actually just really excited about this because altitude has a lot of features that we do talk about and how big it is and all that stuff and aerospace and everything. The one thing that we don't really ever talk about is the weirdest feature of altitude, which is how the Xel'Naga Watchtower gold bases work and everything. And gosh darn it, I'm just hoping Bly is like the first player since I've seen altitude actually come out, and like after like the first couple of weeks of people messing around with it, that Bly is the first player in months that lets us talk about that gold base.
I mean, we see it in the super late game, right? Sometimes, but
yeah, like when it doesn't matter anymore, we see it sometimes now. Yeah,
Bly's gonna take it. He's gonna take it as the natural. Calling it here right now.
I think that will be pretty tough because I think the Xel'Naga Watchtower literally blocks you, so you have to like knock down rocks and stuff. But I'm here for it, man. I'm here for whatever he has to bring us, wherever it takes us.
You can do the thing where the problem is you still have to go pull first and knock the rocks down. But you can do the thing where you build a hatch and then that kills the Xel'Naga without the Xel'Naga falling down, and then you can just kind of cancel and rebuild it. But you still need to break the rocks down. But let's see who's gonna break whom down, because game 3 is here. In the bottom left, he held on for 17 minutes, and that really was all it took to sustain against the Swarm host play. It's GunGFuBanDa.
Up here on the top right-hand side of the map, the blue Zerg player who has no interest in keeping his first drone on his side of the map. It is Bly. That first drone is headed straight across over to the natural to do this.
And the interesting thing here, Fear Dragon, is this is the opposite version of what we saw in game 1, right? Game 1 was, I'm taking my natural, and then I'm taking yours. This one is, I'm taking your natural, and then I'm taking mine as, oh, the pro block. Well, I thought he had the time, and this actually is a bit, this is really obnoxious because you've already delayed your natural for so long.
Yeah, it is going to kind of suck, but I guess Bly's thought process here is, well, I'll just sneak my drone around your probe as you're trying to go for this block and just take the other third base location, which is going to make things harder to defend. There's definitely a lot of costs associated with this, but in a weird way, sometimes Bly, and yeah, if you can do things like this, like fake out that, like, I'm really committed to taking this natural and stuff. Yeah, you know what? Bly is kind of getting in GunGFuBanDa's head to a degree. I think there's a cost associated with it, but it's like that weird mind game where GunGFuBanDa is trying to like mind game Bly, and it's trying to engage with him in head games.
I think Bly actually just wanted that natural. On any other map, sure, fine, but altitude. Yeah, okay, there we go. There's the cancel. Last second, well done, Bly. And the probes, by the way, they're not attacking. There we go. Okay, just a little bit more time.
Yeah, and I'm totally with you. Like, Bly wanted that natural, but it's like once you realize you're not going to get the natural, he already resigned himself to getting the third. But he got GunGFuBanDa to like place the pylon and cancel it and do all these like extra delaying tactics, which also cost him resources, which also delays his nexus as well. And you see that a Stargate is already over here. Bly even managed to cancel, safely get a full scout of the main base to see the Stargate, and actually is even delaying the Adept from moving across the map. So just, it's all of these little things that Bly is messing with GunGFuBanDa on.
Yeah, one reason I'm less of a fan of this on this map, that especially considering Bly didn't get the natural, was just how far away, right? The main and the third base is, and the thing that we don't talk about enough, really, is mining time that is lost when you build drones in the main and have to send them on over to the third here. Because on most maps, it's kind of whatever. You know, you lose 10 minerals or something. Altitude is just massive. And actually, we see Bly oversaturating his main instead of doing so.
What if you just never send them?
Yeah, there we go.
What then? Checkmate.
There we go. I mean, we were going with chess earlier. The question now is, how quickly does Bly send us to a new game? In the chess terms, not like a next series, but a game that hasn't been played before.
Ah, yes, a fresh board state that we have not seen. New discovery on the outskirts of StarCraft, where few dare to go. Is always the exciting thing about Bly. And all these lings gonna be making their way across the map, and that Overlord has absolutely nothing to fear, so it has full vision of everything. So what on earth could Bly be planning? Because he knows there is no way you make it your way through that. Like, there are 2 Adepts over there. There's no way you make any headway with that number of lings. But he doesn't exactly have like a Baneling nest or anything else. So what's he planning with these?
I mean, these lings are across the map at a time to put pressure on a third base. That's kind of, you would expect 330 to 415 is kind of when you would expect a Protoss to go and take their third. Granted, the natural is delayed, so timings are all sorts of screwed up in this game, but you could certainly, like this, I guess this is approximately equal to the time when a Protoss, like the earlier side of when a Protoss would want to take a third. So, Bly just delaying that for now. And actually, you know, as this game goes on, kind of curious as to when GunGFuBanDa is going to actually take his third base. Because, you know, he's not really posturing for it at the moment. It's the Oracle. They dive in. No Spore yet for the Queens. They delay a little bit. There's the Spore in the main, but no Queens. So it's kind of an awkward scenario, but only 4 workers go down for the moment. Bly's going to be pretty happy about that.
Yep. Kind of sucks that Bly also lost an Overlord. He was already a bit supply blocked, so losing an Overlord is going to slow things down even more. But I guess losing 4 workers gives him a bit more supply to work with. There is going to be a Twilight Council being added on to complement the 2 gateways and the Stargate. So GunGFuBanDa is going to try and start taking the third base now, and he has plenty of units to actually secure that location. So shouldn't have any trouble getting that up. But Rotorn and Lair coming down behind all this for Bly. I think the real question on my mind, Beowulf, is what drone count does Bly stop droning at?
It's a very good question. Second question, what does he build with all that time that he spent by not droning? I gotta assume this is a swarm host map again, right? I mean, it's altitude. Look how many cliffs there are. Actually, more cliffs. There we go. Like, ooh, wait, held that thought because Ling's in the natural. It's actually, I mean, nice whole position micro here coming in from GunGFuBanDa. Those Lings, you asked what they were for. They were to get 2 probes and a full scout.
Yes, exactly. The intended plan for those Zerglings. Let's go. Yeah. A little unfortunate there that the Lings do get picked off so quickly, but I definitely get it. Bly saw the opportunity to dive into the natural and stuff, and was not able to take full advantage of it, unfortunately for him. But fortunately for GunGFuBanDa, he cleans those up and now can safely do this move across the map. And there's 2 Lings out on the map. There's more in production, but there's really not that many units. And it's just the fact that you could see Bly was trying to cut some corners by not having very many units on the map. But even just doing that little move out, GunGFuBanDa had to respect it. He forced a bunch of units out there from Bly that weren't drones. It kind of gives GunGFuBanDa a little bit more leeway to catch back up on the worker count.
And the craziest thing about this game for your Dragon is Bly is playing kind of standard. He's got his 4th base on the way, +1 melee, roach speed. I don't think he's quit. Well, dang it, Bly. I was going to say, I don't think he's quit droning. And then he, builds a dropper lord, which in this game state, I don't think we can consider it even all that weird. It's just, hey, you know, might as well.
This is just a cool tactic now. Oh my god, does GunGFuBanDa just know? Or did he see something for this? Like, I actually could see it either way, where it's like, Bly has literally done this to me every game. You know what? This guy has been too quiet. I haven't heard him yell any obscenities at me for like at least 2 minutes. I'm gonna go check around for the drop overlord. I could see it being that, or I could see him literally have just seen Lings moving over to the left-hand side at a weird angle and been like, where are you guys going?
This Link Stalker pressure coming in from GunGFuBanDa. The Lings are on the right side. The thing that you really want against the Stalkers, this feels like it might be enough to crack this base open. At least it's going to force a much heavier commitment out of Bly. And given the fact that his Spire is about halfway done, he wants to be saving money for that muted transition. So, yeah, the Stalkers are going to get forced out, and Bly actually gets away with not having to build that much more. So, well done, Bly. Seems like Link counterattack on the other side didn't get much done. It's a scout, but I think he knew that anyways. So now, Spire is just about done, and does Bly build those mutas, right? You got a bunch of Stalkers on the left side. Do you feel safe enough, Bly?
That's a good question. I mean, he has some more roaches popping on out, so it's like roughly the same number of roaches as there are Stalkers out on the map, but the Lings also add in a bit, so maybe he feels safe about it. He's not making anything just yet, but he's got enough to make about 12 mutas right now, and 11 mutas do fire on up, so Bly is going to go for it.
And I really do like the Spire idea on this map, right? We talked about how big altitude is, how, maybe with the high ground, low ground, it might be good for swarm host play. But it also just has a ton of dead airspace. It's so hard to tamp mutas down in a game like this, but you're always worried. At that muted timing, does your opponent just run across the map and kill you? GunGFuBanDa seems like he's getting ready for it. That's a lot more Stalkers on the north side than he had previously. He's got a gateway here. Can Bly hold on to this? I mean, he's got 15 roaches against 17 Stalkers. That's not really all that exciting.
I think he's just going to try and go for the scrappy base trade situation where you know that you won't actually kill the army, but you're going to try and soften it up and make it so awkward as you force warp-ins back at home, force a recall. Yeah, he does actually end up forcing quite a bit back, but at the same time, there were some Zealot run-bys and stuff on the right-hand side, so Bly has not actually done any damage, but he's lost a hatchery. He needs to get damage done with the mutas, and they're already taking a lot of damage themselves.
I mean, he does get 5 probes, but you gotta figure it. Oh, Link counterattack. These are +1 Lings, by the way, so this is a little bit more of the chaos that Bly was looking for. Lings into the natural, as mutas they fly into the main, but Stalkers, they are well prepared. And honestly, the problem, we talk about how this map could be good for mutas, right? It's a bunch of dead airspace, it's a big map, it's hard for Protoss to move out. On the flip side, these 4 bases, they're really hard to defend on the ground. The 4th base is so far away from the 3rd, it's high ground, low ground. How do you defend this spot in the middle? Well, by air, they're actually fairly close. And it's with Blink Stalkers, it's actually pretty doable to rotate around and make sure you can defend. But I guess on the, again, like in Bly's favor here, he's gone +1, right? He's going to be committing pretty heavily to these mutas. And we don't have a, I mean, we have the 1 Stargate, but no Phoenix are on the way out. We don't have a 2nd Stargate, no +1. GunGFuBanDa is going to try to hold on against this with just pure Stalkers. And as we see Bly commit to this more and more, it does really feel like Bly is just moving into the base trade composition that you do want something to actually deal with these mutas.
Yeah, see, I was 100% with you. And then during all of that, it feels like Bly just is like, he changed his mind and is just like, you know what? No, 15 mutas is actually enough. And then he started throwing down like Baneling speed burrow, roach tunneling claws, adding on more overlords, adding on some more drones and stuff. So it's like he wants to reinvest now and not actually continue to, like, I actually really thought that maybe Bly saw his win condition as massing mutas, getting such a critical mass. He's already done a lot of economic damage and everything now with the mutas during like the last minute or two, and that just continuing to make more mutas would be the win condition here. But it feels like maybe he thinks he's already done so much damage that he's forced a big attack, and now it's just about surviving that attack. And I can't actually say that he seems like he's that wrong about it.
No, I mean, he got a massive Bailey run by into the fourth that killed about 22 probes. Now Bailey's look for the connections. Bailey speed's not done, and the Stalkers, they just don't take much damage. Yeah, the Zealots went down, but it is the Stalkers and the Archons that are the problem here. So Bly, he needs more time. He needs more roaches, and he doesn't really have it right now. Again, it's the 2-1 timing. It's these +2 Stalkers that cause so many problems. And yeah, on the other side of the map, the mutas are doing damage, but they can get dealt with by this army eventually. I do like the burrow, by the way. That's cute. But because there are no Lings on the other side, it is just mutas here. I don't think that Bly is going to have enough to win this base trade. He loses a base, he loses 33 drones, and he doesn't, I mean, he actually has a bunch of minerals in the bank, but doesn't really have the gas. And more importantly, he doesn't have the larva to build an army that fights what GunGFuBanDa has.
Yeah. To some degree, I wouldn't even mind if Bly was just burrowing his roaches as they popped out and just kind of like saving them, basically, from this army. Because I think building the critical mass is the best chance he has to try and take a better fight. Because at the end of the day, he has killed so many probes that GunGFuBanDa is down to, you know, sub 20 at the moment. I do think the one way Bly could still make this work is if he's able to just trade somewhat effectively and then take out some of the stock, like the Archons, take out some of the Stalkers and stuff, and gradually clean this up, because it just takes so long for GunGFuBanDa to maneuver around all these bases. But at this point, he's already lost so many of his mutas. I don't really think that they can add much to his army. GunGFuBanDa just doesn't seem like he has an army that's going to die anymore.
Yeah, and again, the big problem, more than anything, it's the larva count. GunGFuBanDa, he doesn't have a lot of money, certainly. I mean, he actually has like 0 gas. But he does have this one mining base, and more importantly, he has his production. These 3 mutas are not going to shut that down. Bly doesn't really. You know, he's got 2 hatches. I don't think he has got 1 queen that he keeps injecting onto. So getting down the ramp here is going to be really hard. He can't really spend the bank that he has. Imagine if he had 500 more minerals worth of Lings. I think he might actually be able to take this fight. Maybe. I'm actually not totally sure. But on the flip side, I mean, he can't. He will not have those 500 minerals worth of Lings. He's building queens right now, and he's re-expanding.
Yeah, I don't think he has much of a choice, right? Like, that's the only thing he really can do at this point. I don't even think he can defend the base, but what other option do you have as Bly? I think you just try and use those 3 pesky mutas to try and be annoying and distract your opponent, make him feel like they still have to stay at home for a little bit. And I think you just have to try and get up some kind of semblance of an economy so you can make more roaches and eventually defend a bit. I don't even know, man. There's no good answers.
There really isn't. Bly had an opportunity, but unfortunately, the big issue I think that he's running into is he thought he was going to annihilate all the economy. So instead of microing his mutas and kind of diving in and diving out and taking little bits and pieces here and there, he dove them on top of the space. But there's a shield, there's a cannon, there are a couple shield batteries, there were Stalkers. By the way, these roaches, nice pick off there at GunGFuBanDa. And so instead of having 10, 15 mutas on the map right now, he has none. Not a single one, nothing to prevent GunGFuBanDa from just building 4 probes at a time in this economy that was so shattered moments ago. It's on 46 now. Yeah, you know, maybe, actually, he didn't lose a base. He just lost probes, and honestly, as long as you got some money and some chronos, that's probably the easiest thing to reproduce.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right about that. Being able to build 3-4 workers at a time has allowed GunGFuBanDa to recover pretty swiftly, given the comparison of Bly, who I think is still struggling very much so. But Bly, yeah, he doesn't even have the mutas alive anymore. Archons continue to be added on in. Even some Dark Templar being warped in somewhere just to add additional Archons. +2 weapons there for GunGFuBanDa. Like, he really does seem like he has all the tools at his disposal. The only thing that I think Bly can even really play around with at this point is like the Roach Tunneling Claws upgrade. But I don't know that I've seen many opportunities for it, because there are observers out on the map. Okay, Bailing Run by can get some good damage done.
actually should have gotten more.
Yeah.
Granted, they are +1 banelings, so they're not incredible, but GunGFuBanDa, I mean, that actually, he's still ahead in economy. I was gonna say, hey, you know, this is a good thing for Bly, and it is. But I mean, the economic lead here is a significant problem, and he's down an army supply on a Roach Ravager composition, down upgrades as well. Bly played a really good game, and it was fun to watch, and certainly game 1 worked out rather well. But I feel like this point, this game is pretty over.
Yeah, not really seeing too many more ways that Bly can bounce back from this one. And I think Bly is also coming to terms with it. GunGFuBanDa putting on a heck of a game and a heck of a series after basically being blind in game number 1. He really did turn things around, and I think he phrased it really well in the last game. It was like, kind of remembered what it was like to play Bly, and he's really just been covering his bases, both literally and figuratively, about the kind of shenanigans that Bly can bust out his way.
Yep. He got bracers on his arms for Bly's knife hands, and Bly eventually did tire himself out. But I think in game 3, Bly did show us that, you know, that was a pretty standard macro game. Maybe the muted transition is not something every Zerg is going to do, but for the most part, Bly played this like most Zergs would, and he played it very well. So we talk about Bly as this player who, you know, he does the crazy cheesy thing, and that's what he does. Well, you know, in the macro game, he didn't beat GunGFuBanDa, but I think he definitely had opportunities to, and that's at least something that future opponents are going to have to put away in the back of their head, right? Moving forward, yeah, Bly, he's not just the all-in type of guy.
No. DT's going to be rolling on in and shutting down, I think, final kind of hopes of mining over here for Bly, even if he has an overseer with that army, which I don't even actually know that he does. I guess he does a little bit further back. Bly actually has only 4 mineral patches mining as natural now, and he decided to reinvest his few remaining resources into 6 mutas.
11 mutas. He's got 5 on the way. He had 6 on the base. So this is classic Bly. We talk about him as, you know, this cheesy player. Sure, I mean, he did show us a good macro game, but he also is I think more than anyone else, is the player that refuses to die. He has the slimmest opportunity to win a game. He's going to drag it out for another 5 minutes because, hey, yeah, you know, 99 games out of 100. GunGFuBanDa closes this out. It's fine.
Yep.
But there's that 1 out of 100.
Having been there for that 1 out of 100 a couple of times with Bly specifically, I don't blame him at all for sticking it out, especially when you consider things like GunGFuBanDa is now maxed out, and in theory, Bly is only catching up right now. Like, literally as time passes, as GunGFuBanDa is not attacking, he is now moving across the map, so this is no longer the case, but Bly being able to continue to just make units is literally catching him up right now. But GunGFuBanDa knows that he's been waiting for the max out timing, and he is looking to end the game and secure that first very, very important victory for him in this Swiss format group stage.
This Mutaflock is kind of scary. I don't think it's Bly winning the game level scary, but they got +2 in about 10 seconds. Cannons go down. They're going to force GunGFuBanDa back a little bit. And if he maxes out with mutas, he's 50 supply out. That's very expensive. I don't know if he's going to be able to do so, but theoretically, that could be fun. And actually, Bly just gives up the natural. He's like, yeah, I can't win a straight up fight anymore. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
But I can't send roaches on the map, and I have these mutas, and maybe. 0.5 out of 100 now.
Yeah. I think GunGFuBanDa is actually just checking around for bases and just being like, all right, you didn't like sneak an expansion or something. He's trying to figure out like, what do you got? It's like, okay, well, +3/+3 is finished on up, and it really is just about the little holdout here in the natural expansion for Bly. He's gonna, like you said, try to do a little bit of chip damage with these mutas, be annoying. I honestly wouldn't even mind if GunGFuBanDa at this point, like, he's got the economy, he's got the bank, throw down a fleet beacon, just make like 5 Phoenix, and then just the mutas will literally never do anything. You can send all of your units across the map. You could probably blink straight to the main base and take care of things. The final holdouts here for Bly.
And again, I think we're looking at one of these games. This is where, the roaches are going to get found out. We're looking at one of these games where I mean, GunGFuBanDa has this game on it. Bly is going to have to do so much with so little that I'm not even sure Bly is literally not mining. Actually, he has like 100 minerals a minute. That's just about nothing. But now the question is like, It's so fortunate for GunGFuBanDa that he only plays Bly today. Like, imagine you have to play this series and then you got to go play someone else for your tournament life next time. I'm not going to say that GunGFuBanDa is going to get tilted, but that's got to be frustrating. Regardless, he closes the series out. Bly goes down 0-2. GunGFuBanDa, he keeps that life alive, goes to 1-1.